Okay, wow, okay. Yes, so Hairless here. Today we are back with a Patreon request. Thank you to Lupe for this one. This is Forestella with their cover of Hijo de la Luna, which in English translates to Son of the Moon. The original song is by a Spanish group called Mecano. I didn't know it. I did a reaction video to it yesterday, actually, at the time of recording this. That video is in my usual style, analyzing the harmony and everything else. I explained the story that the lyrics portray. So I'm not going to repeat myself here, but please do check that out if you haven't seen it already. I have no doubt that will be useful ahead of diving into this. It's likely I'll reference that video in this too. I mean, I guess we'll see depending how similar or different the performances are. So yeah, that was yesterday, which means that yesterday was the first time I ever heard this song. I did the video and I've been listening to that song on repeat when I've been cooking, when I've gone to the shops. It's a really cool song. So interesting. So I am beyond excited to see what Forestella do here with it, how much they'll change the arrangement, how much they'll change the harmony. There were a lot of unexpected things in the original song. Forestella always do unexpected things. Let's get straight into it.
Hijo de la luna.
Yes.
Hijo de la luna. 빛을 잃은 하늘, 길을 잃은 여인, 오랜 기도 들려. 푸른 바다 아래 깊은 잠을 자던 달이 떠오르네.
눈부신 그 빛에 몸을 맡겨.
Okay, so, and I really hope I'm right with this, but I believe they're singing in Korean. The opening lyrics of the song, when they sung it here, were the title, Hijo de la Luna,
Hijo de la luna.
which would mean that this performance, this translation, is not like for like with the original song. The original song opens with this line,
Tonto el que no entienda.
which means he who does not understand is a fool, not Hijo de la Luna, which means son of the moon. And the subtitles aren't available on this Forestella performance, unfortunately. So I have no idea of knowing exactly what the words are that they're singing. Very interesting and unexpected, a Spanish song sung in Korean. Well, whilst we've paused here, we'll make this our first pause. If you don't want to hear my analysis and my thoughts, go to the timestamp. The opening, wow, completely different to the original song. Weirdly though, I think it kind of captures a similar feeling or atmosphere. It's difficult to put into words how this makes me feel or what it's conjuring up in my head, but let's have a look at what we have here. So Kang Hyung-ho, the countertenor, opens up with that lovely voice of his, such a natural tone, quite airy too here.
Hijo de la luna.
For that softer, more beautiful sound. He goes quite high
빛을 잃은 하늘.
to a top E there. So effortless for him. It doesn't even seem high because of how effortless and easy it is for him. If you've seen my previous Forestella videos, I always go on about this and him in particular, so I won't do the same. If you haven't seen my previous Forestella videos, please check them out at the playlist up here. As for the instrumentation, this really ethereal effect that we get, it's so nicely crafted through the use of the instruments are all resonating instruments. They could be many things, but if we think of metallic instruments that resonate when they're played, that produces these bell-like sounds that we get. Some subtle harmonics in there as well. The original uses bells very prominently for the purposes of their beat. The bells are emphasizing beats 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Usually in this kind of rhythmic dynamic, kind of like a waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's the first beat that's emphasized. Forestella do keep this waltz feel, thinking in terms of 3, but they have a slower tempo. So we can kind of think of this as being in 6, 8 instead of 3, 4, which would be compound time, but we don't need to worry about that. The bass part, so the lowest part that we can hear in the instrumentation, enters with the vocals,
Hijo della luna.
falling down there. Dum, 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 dum. In the original song, though, it enters before the vocals. Forestella are performing in a different key, so it will sound different naturally, but I will include my piano clip from my reaction to this original song, where I explain the opening. And then this is the 5th time when the phrase repeats. 5 is an irregular number, a little bit surprising, but this actually gets the harmonic progression moving because after this, the bass starts to move and the bass goes. Then after that, it changes a little bit. This is where the melody comes in and the harmony at this point actually changes. So the pattern we heard beforehand, the chords were these. So those chords that we've just heard in that order, that's the harmonic progression. It just means the order of the chords and how they are related to each other. Forestella do change this around a little bit noticeably with their last chord. The chords that they use are these. So some things are quite similar to the original song and some things are very different. Overall though, it's definitely a similar kind of dream-like effect. But the methods to achieve this similar effect are so different. It's very clever. Going back to the instrumentation, we get the bass now in the strings and then pizzicato, the plucked music in the upper strings enters. We do get this in the original song, but it comes towards the end. And the contrast between the plucked pizzicato strings higher up is massive against the full sounds at the lower end of the spectrum there. Forestella, when they use it here, much more delicate, easing us slowly into the world of orchestral instruments, which then enter. And with the original song, this was one of the surprises for me, the instrumentation. I said in my reaction to that it was like a film score. Forestella, we know, love to do this. It's quite theatrical, and I think they've done it to a great effect here. All right, we will carry on from where we paused. Ko Woo Rim's entry, he is their bass.
눈부신 그 빛에 몸을 맡겨 그 흘린 달빛에 입을 맞춰 간절한 내 기도 사라지기 전에 빛을 내려줘
달이 스치는 바람에 닿을 수 있을까 해가 뜨기 전에 하는 분위기 밤에 부디 내려주고 나와 닮은 빛을 Hijo de la luna.
Okay, wow, okay. It's getting crazy on that stage now. It's getting crazy. By the way, in the video, it seems like the volume's been turned down. I'll see if I can maybe sort it out in editing, but if it sounds a little quiet to you, then that's why. I really like how Beidou Hoon, the baritone, comes in just for the end of the first phrase we have from the bass. Very quietly, he then exits and then he re-enters and then stays in. It seems a bit irregular, but also quite structured. We then go back to the countertenor, and this really is like a showcase for him. And what better place than this to introduce their tenor, Cho Ming-yu, who has that lovely, light, leggero voice. Such a delicate, soft sound with these two singing together, but also we can really sense the power behind their voices. The countertenor especially, a bit more power coming through, a bit of a blended voice in there, less air. They work so well together, and this is also the first time we've heard harmony. So from a complexity standpoint, if we can think of it like that, things are growing. We started simple, just one voice. Then we had two people singing, but the same melody in unison. Then two in harmony, and then shortly afterwards we get full harmony. Nice chord. I like this duet as well because they're moving in parallel motion, making an adjustment for the chromatic inflection. The first time we hear this, and then the second time we hear this. Nice chromaticism. And they repeat the chromatic note at the end of the phrase as well to really just kind of rub it in. The original had a lot of unexpected harmony in it. I spoke about it a lot in my reaction. Forestella do the same thing. I'll play an example now, a great example of an unexpected modulation, but it's completely different to the original. The countertenor and the baritone follow through the phrases. The tenor and the bass take a breath. That's a great method of breath control whilst maintaining an overall sound. Then the tenor line is below the baritone line, which is subtle, especially in this rich chord. But the different timbres of their voices, tenor versus baritone, make it a little bit different, at least to me. I always say the baritone is really a bari tenor because his range, he can easily sing any tenor's part, even though his tone, his timbre, is definitely that of a baritone. The countertenor line then rises up, finishing on this note. And if we add in the bass part and then move all the notes together, we get this very dissonant chord. They leave us with that just before the tenor's quite dramatic solo here. So dramatic. Also, we hear the piano going on an absolute mad one. These crazy runs, it sounds like a Chopin etude or something. Again, it's so structured in its arpeggios, but in turn creates this thunderously chaotic feeling, really exaggerated by that dissonant chord they leave us with. We get the operatic line, we get a chromatic descending piano run, all these quick notes. Things have just suddenly become very, very theatrical. In true Forestella style, very cool. And this now is truly their own performance. It might be a cover song, but the original song is barely recognizable compared to this at this point. And I like how the backing vocals are stressing beats 2 and 3. Cha, 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 cha. Like the bells in the original song. Same principal idea with a similar outcome, beats 2 and 3 being stressed, but just completely different. Kang Hyung-ho going up to a top A. That's the highest note a chorister is expected to sing. And then his line on the top, it sounds quieter to us, but it's much more of a direct sound. Very, very high, and I have to do it quietly. It's difficult. So that must have been made quieter in post. Yeah, just so many really interesting lines here. Let's carry on.
거세지는 바람
꺼진 불빛 어둠을 헤치고 찢어진 마음은
멀리 떠나가네 살이 스치는 밤에 나를 외면하는 달의 뒷모습이
바람부는 이 밤에 머물게 해주오 나와 닮은 빛을 Hijo de la luna.
Blimey. I was having shivers, goosebumps, shudders all the way. Normally they stop at my back, but they were going into my legs. I was rocked to the spot. Rocked to the spot, glued to the spot, I think is the saying. Amazing, really amazing, isn't it? I'm keen to continue, but just a few things before I forget. Shout out to the arrangement. It really does have everything.
거세지는 바람
Everything, it's in there. You can listen to this a million times and still hear new things, which I will do after filming this. And that really helps with moments such as this. Because we've got so much going on. We've got vocal counterpoint even going on. So everything going on in the arrangement, this cacophony almost, very structured cacophony, but then sudden homophony in the guys singing. Same words, same time, same rhythms. It's just this dramatic change suddenly. And then I really liked how they split into the lower voice duet followed by the upper voice duet.
살이 스치는 밤에
Oh, Koru Rim and his bass voice there. Wow. Yeah, as I said before, we are still having a lot of unexpected key changes. In the original, there were unexpected key changes. So does that make these expected, even though they are just unexpected? They definitely heard the original with all its weird and wonderful modulations and thought, yeah, we're gonna have that in here as well. So this bit I'm about to play, it's so clever how the bass part sustains just one note underneath everything else moving, doesn't move. The other parts don't only move in terms of harmony, but it's what they do with the rhythms as well. You have one note sustained, and the others, all these breathy sounds coming off, coming back on, all the breaths really exaggerated. It just works so well. And then what follows it, I mean, wow, this textural reduction to just piano and Kang Hyung Ho.
Hijo de la luna.
And what follows as well. Very interesting chords there. Cue Sir Hairless from the future to show roughly the chords that we're hearing. And then this bit after that, it's a really good bit to practice listening out to the different parts. Such good harmony. Focus on one of the lines and just try and follow it. Really cool section that, isn't it? Really, really nice. Okay, on to the final stretch. We'll carry on till the end.
Hijo de la luna Hijo de la luna.
빛을 잃은 하늘 길을 잃은 여인 품에 안은 달빛
흘린 달빛이 사라질 때까지 깊은 잠이 드네 예쁜 꿈을 꾸네
깨지 않는 꿈.
Yeah, quality performance, isn't it? Stellar performance. A lovely last section, really, moving between each of them. And it's interesting to see which instruments accompany each of their little solos. I know the countertenor didn't have a solo at the end, but we heard him at the beginning. I don't need to go over them. You can have a listen and see which instrument is playing when each of them is singing. Maybe try and think about why they've chosen to do that, why that particular instrument. My favorite was the flute with the tenor.
흘린 달빛이 사라질 때까지 깊
Not in harmony, just providing melodic support in unison. And the decision not to sing the final note of the melody. You know, in the original, the melody would go. But they leave it out. It's quite eerie. It leaves us wanting more, but we're left with this beautiful harp and piano duet. I was expecting to be surprised, but not by that much. Straight from the off, singing in Korean. The original was so peculiar and interesting for many reasons, and Forestella did the same thing, but just having a completely different approach. I loved the arrangement, so clever for so many reasons, and I loved the performance as well. All round very good, that one. All round very good. I don't need to say any more, so let's leave that one there. Thank you as always for watching. If you'd like to support me, you can go to the Buy Me a Coffee link down below, or of course you can give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Would really appreciate it. And if you enjoy my videos or find them useful, you can also join the Patreon linked on the screen now for access to exclusive content, and I will see you next time.